You ever get that feeling? That kind of low-level hum of restlessness? Like you know you should be able to just sit and focus, but your mind is, well, it's everywhere else. We're going to get to the bottom of why that's happening, and honestly, it's something we all really need to hear.
I mean, that's a heavy statement, right? But it cuts right to the chase. It's not just that you're distracted, it's that something inside our own heads is being actively changed, and definitely not for the better.
And let's be honest, you know this feeling. It's that quiet sense of emptiness, a restlessness that just kind of follows you around, even when you're supposed to be relaxing. Without even thinking about it, your hand just goes for your pocket. You start scrolling. You're not looking for anything. Not really. It's just a twitch, an automatic reflex. And then, a moment later, you lock the screen. And nothing. You gained nothing. There was no satisfaction. That empty feeling? Yep, still there. And the crazy part, a few seconds later, you do the exact same thing all over again. It's this compulsive little loop of nothing, and it's a giant red flag that something is seriously out of whack. You might chalk it up to being tired or, I'm just burned out. But what if it's not burnout from working too hard? What if it's burnout from feeling too much of the completely wrong thing? So, what is actually going on in our brains here? Well, the answer comes down to this one little chemical messenger that our modern world has completely and totally hijacked. See, dopamine was supposed to be evolution's reward for surviving. It was that feeling that told our ancestors, hey, that really hard thing you just did, it was worth it. You should do it again. It was tied to real effort, to real achievement. And right here, this is the core of the problem. Our brains are running on ancient software, designed for a world where you had to struggle for a big reward. But we're living in a world of swiping and clicking, where you get a tiny reward for zero struggle. Our brain chemistry just wasn't built for this. That's how many times, every single day, you might be hitting that reward button. Thousands of tiny, fake hits of pleasure, just for flicking your thumb. Your brain was never, ever meant to handle that kind of stimulation. And this is the critical part. Our brains are smart. They adapt. So when they're faced with this constant, unnatural flood, they have to do something to protect themselves. But the way they do it, well, it comes at a huge cost. To keep from being totally overwhelmed, your brain literally turns down its own sensitivity to pleasure. It just lowers the baseline, and that's why normal life, real life, can start to feel so dull and boring. Okay, so we get the cause, but what are the real-world consequences of this rewiring? How does this actually mess with our ability to just live our lives? Just let that sink in for a second. By constantly chasing these tiny, easy hits of pleasure, we've taught our own minds that the real world, with its slower pace and complexities, just isn't worth the effort. And you can feel the results everywhere, right? A real conversation starts to feel like it's dragging on. Trying to read a book feels like torture, and sitting down to do deep, focused work, almost impossible. Even just a quiet moment alone feels less like peace and more like anxiety. Because here's the thing. Anything worthwhile in life, learning an instrument, starting a business, creating anything, it all requires pushing through the boring, frustrating parts. If we lose the ability to tolerate boredom, we basically lose the ability to build a meaningful life. That's the cold, hard trade we're making, whether we know it or not. We're giving away our actual potential, our real future, for a stream of digital junk food that we won't even remember tomorrow. So how do we fix this? The answer isn't some new productivity app or a fancy planner. It's actually much simpler and, frankly, a whole lot harder. You have to cut off the supply. You have to go on a dopamine fast. You have to intentionally, deliberately, let yourself be bored again, even when every fiber of your being is screaming for a distraction. We have to totally change how we think about boredom. It's not the enemy. It's not something to avoid. It's a recovery state. It's your brain's reset button. It's the blank page where all the good ideas start to show up. Now, I gotta warn you, this is not gonna feel good at first, at all. When you take away the noise, your brain is gonna panic. It's gonna scream for a fix. The real work is just sitting with that withdrawal, that awful, antsy feeling, and not giving in. Because if you can push through it, your brain will start to heal itself. It will find its natural settings again. So what's on the other side of all this discomfort? Let me tell you, it's about so much more than just getting your focus back. It's about reclaiming who you are. When you pull this off, it's like a fog lifts that you didn't even know was there. Suddenly, a simple walk is interesting. Music sounds better. And that desire to actually create something, to build something, to really connect with people, it all comes roaring back. Well, you get yourself back. So we'll end with this question, and it's for you to think about. What are you actually capable of? What could you create or build or become if your attention wasn't constantly being stolen and sold? Face the silence. You might be amazed by who you find.